Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, we've made it into phase two.
I mean, we made it into phase two last week.
It feels like we're really in it now because there's not a lot happening at the moment.
Just for the week.
I think we're going to go through our first Oscar winner picks here, read some emails, get ready for a lot of award shows coming later. You psyched?
In the shortest month of the year,
Yeah.
but a day longer this year.
I was looking at something where a tweet before that was like January feels like literally the longest month in the history, and then everything just flies. I can't believe we're recording this on Wednesday, January 31st. Man, January, really long time.
I feel like it just started, and it's also been like 10 months.
It feels like it's been 10 months. And then yeah, the parallels to 2020. Let's hope we have a better 2024 than we did at 2020. But a leap year, Chiefs, Niners,
It's a quadrennium. Olympics.
Biden, Trump. Can't wait. A lot of similarities to 2020.
We need to see the NBA schedule in March.
What will that help us?
Because that was the inciting incident. Don't you remember? Come on.
Oh yeah, Rudy. Who is it? Who is the player? Rudy.
Yeah, Jazz.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great
So
stuff.
yeah. And then everything shut down March 13th, basically.
Tom Hanks filming Elvis and had COVID.
Yeah.
Great times. I don't want to think about 2020.
But you know what?
2024.
COVID's still around. Everyone just acts like it's over.
Yeah. So winner picks, Joyce. And we talked about the nominations last week. Great stuff. People are still pressed about Barbie and the snubs.
Hilarious.
They're not snubs according to some people. It's not a snub. Snub doesn't exist. Things we've all thought previously, certainly last year with Danielle Deadweiler,
snubs happen
Viola Davis.
every year. Movies are left out, and that's just the way it is. It's not a participation trophy.
It's fine. I just love the idea that this year they're not. I just love the word police coming out for it's not a snub. It is a snub. It doesn't matter. It happens, but
it doesn't, like, whatever you want to call it is fine, and you could be disappointed, but it happened.
It happened.
It happened, and that's it. Move on.
So we'll do our winner picks here, Joyce. I got to say, I got a lot of Oppenheimer. My first glance.
Down the ballot.
Almost. I guess we'll start with Best Picture. Joyce will be shocked to know I got Oppenheimer winning.
Is there anyone who doesn't have Oppenheimer?
We talked about this in our column. What could win other than Oppenheimer?
So, like I said in the column, Oppenheimer's first, and then the rest of the top five, I think you can have Holdovers, Anatomy, Poor Things, and American Fiction in any order you want.
That's the five I have.
Five. That's the five.
Yeah. I have Poor Things in second, and then American Fiction in third, Holdovers in fourth, and Anatomy of a Fall in fifth.
I have Holdovers in second, Anatomy in third, and then American Fiction and Poor Things. So but really, like, any order.
It would be just a tremendous upset, I would say, if Oppenheimer didn't win. And I know people are trying to make the case exciting. Yeah, you got, it's like when it's a blowout in sports, the announcers are going to come up with things to keep it going. And sometimes you have a choke like the Lions and the Niners, and sometimes you just don't.
Remind me. Okay.
Sometimes you just don't. So I guess, I mean, like, there's a world this could change. We're only January 31st, but it does feel like for Best Picture, at least, this is as last year at this time, I think we both felt Everything Everywhere had no shot of losing. There didn't seem like a consensus number two. And this year, I feel like the exact same thing. There's just not a consensus alternate. There's no coda to the power of the dog here. There's a lot of codas.
And Oppenheimer is not a power of the dog in the first place.
No. But you know what I mean? Like, coda became the move. That was like...
There's no established number two.
Yes.
And then, but the frontrunner is not something that people want to take down or people don't like in the first place.
Right.
Like, it's actually very impressive how, even though Oppenheimer has been the front runner since July, really, but it's managed to keep the target off its back, because I think, it was part of Barbenheimer, but it was always number 2 to Barbie,
Mhm.
even though obviously was a huge success in its own right. And then, that was a whole thing over the summer. And then by the fall, everyone was gearing up for Killers of the Flower Moon. And then people are trying to make that happen. It's like, could this be the best picture winner? Like Marty's back and everything. And I think it was like as high as 2 overall in the fall.
Mhm.
Um, and then that, didn't really pan out. And yeah, like it's still been like in first since then. And then like other movies are coming and going. Maestro became the villain for about 3 weeks. And then now, we're in noms, and then everyone flipped out over Barbie last
It
week, not even talking about Oppenheimer leading nominations with 13.
it
No one cared. It was just
it
like, it
it
got 13, likely thing for it to do. That's it.
it's one of the greatest. I don't know. I don't even know if it was done as if they were able to. It's like one of the most organic ways to avoid frontrunner fatigue that I've ever seen is this, because like it should have been absolutely just Oscar villained, annihilated, and it wasn't, because like you just said, like all these different things conspired to keep it kind of
And
like
I think
in.
also the strikes help too, because remember the actors had to walk out of the premiere because of the actors strike in July. So I think, that they were promoting it before, obviously, but they had to stop promotion for months. So they couldn't bask in the afterglow of the success of the box office for a couple months either. So it was like we didn't see them for a while. And then everyone came out in full force in November.
it
So
it is
yeah.
like the kind of thing you couldn't in another year. I think in another time this would have been front runner fatigued out, but in this year in this time, no, it just hasn't. And even like you said, like the Oscar nominations, it was all about Barbie. The Oppenheimer didn't even get. It was just like,
Yeah,
oh
it was
yeah,
like
shrug.
congratulations on your 13
13
nominations. Yeah.
nominations, totally fine. One of
Barbie
the most
only quotes got 8.
only one of the most lauded movies in the history of the Oscars. Totally fine. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it seems hard to believe that anything would beat Oppenheimer. And as we go, I feel like we could do Best Director quickly too. I have Christopher Nolan. That one,
Wait,
honest.
hold on. What is the odds in Best Picture? Because I feel like it's probably different from what we have.
Okay, hang on. What are the odds?
Like,
Oppenheimer
I'm sure
one,
Oppie is first, of course.
obviously. Holdovers in second. Poor
Okay.
Things in third. Anatomy of a Fall in fourth. Killers of the Flower Moon in fifth. Barbie in sixth, and American Fiction in seventh. Our odds have been way and then
Very low on American Fiction.
since the jump, and it just feels totally wrong. And then Zone of Interest in eight, Maestro nine, and Past Lives in 10. Um, yeah, I just feel like the American Fiction stuff, it's been way too low. It
It's
overperformed at
it's
the
it's
Oscars.
yeah, and I said this also in our column last week. It was like I feel like people have been very reluctant
Mm-hmm.
to predict American Fiction since it won TIFF. And I
Yes,
feel like any other year, everyone would automatically be slotting in the TIFF winner. And it'll
obviously.
be like way higher. But it took forever for it to break into the top 10 and like Jeffrey Wright and everything. Like it was faster for the screenplay. But yeah, like even now when it overperformed in nominations, it's in seventh. I mean, like Killers and Barbie, I have in 6 and 7.
I have him in seventh and eighth. I actually have Zone of Interest in sixth, and I have Barbie in seventh and Killers in
Oh
eighth.
yeah, no, I have Zone in 7th. I have Barbie, yeah, in 6th, Zone in 7th, and Killers in 8th.
So anyway, I mean, Holdovers makes sense as a number two, I guess. But I also think, like I said, I thought it didn't. It could have actually over it. It didn't underperform. It just performed, and American Fiction overperformed. So I feel like American Fiction would have the edge over the Holdovers at this point. But
I mean, I think it's just about if you think Abby is gonna have the most number ones and number twos, it's like what's next? Like what's gonna have a lot of twos and threes? And I
mhm.
think all of those four can. Like I think Anatomy is also surging at the right time right now too.
I think there's a world where Anatomy would be number two. To be honest,
Mhm.
because I think
It,
you're
it
right.
got everything it needed. So
And it again, it's just I watched it again. It's so watchable. It is just an HBO limited series done as a movie, and it's great time to watch. So watchable. And I think
And I
anybody who
think
hasn't seen it,
if it like had been already like streaming in the fall, I think it would have been already been bigger.
mhm,
But I think now, like we already had the fan cams in the fall
right.
of the hot lawyer and everything. But now I think, like Sandra, the kitchen fight is going viral too. So I think more people are discovering it. But it's always been very well liked across the board. So
Mhm.
I think it's like to maybe like normies, they might not realize like how strong it is, but I think it's like top three,
Yeah, I
you
think
know.
that's fair. Best director, similarly, this one I felt like was locked in even before Best Picture. Nolan, I have Nolan winning his first directing Oscar, and then I have Justine Triet in second.
Yeah, I have Nolan, Justine, Yorgos, Glazer, and Marty.
Me too. That's not what the odds say. The odds have Justine in last.
Rude.
So rude.
Again, I think like people just don't know how well liked this movie is.
I also think like, tell me if you think this is true. People are stubborn, and so when they aren't able to like be in front of the pack, they're just gonna like penalize. You know what I mean? Like American Fiction too, and Justine, where it's like if you didn't expect them to do really well, then you're just be like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna predict it. I'll be stubborn about it.
Like anti-dicting
Yes,
them,
yes,
but I don't. It's like because it's like no one's predicting them to win. Like I think we all have the same winner, right? So it's like it's just the rest of the rankings,
right,
you know. So, um, but I think like part of it is also she's not a huge name.
right. Um,
So, um,
but I don't
but
think she's gonna win this. I think she'll win another Oscar, and I think Nolan will win this one.
this is yeah. So what are the rankings? Is Nolan
Nolan way out in front. Then
and
Yorgos, Glazer, Scorsese, and Trier. I sadly have Marty in last, but I think it's a very stacked field of directors.
it's a good list, but I I just don't I feel like the other three will have more passion for them than Marty would. Like I think he has his own base too, but I think with how it seems like Killers is just sort of like fading, and there's just kind of more excitement and support for the other films.
This
So I
was a
think
popular almost used as a gotcha on about the snubs, where it was like, well, if you think Greta Gerwig would have gone in, who would leave? And I would say Yorgos to me because I didn't think he would get in the first place. So was wondering if you had to put somebody in who wasn't in here, who would you drop? I guess if it was Greta or Alexander Payne.
if like this is just my personal.
Yeah, like that's like I feel like I've seen that a lot. And like this, along the lines of snubs aren't real. It's like, well, if you're
Yeah,
gonna
well, because
predict,
the thing is, like, everyone complaining about that. It's like, okay, if you're gonna keep complaining about this, you need to say who should be removed, because
right?
this is
I'd
also
happily do that.
disrespectful to the nominees.
Sure, I would happily do that. Yorgos, I would have moved out for Greta personally, but no, I guess that didn't happen. So who would you put out?
Um, Honestly, I would do Marty.
I think Marty would be like next on the list, maybe.
Yeah,
And I know you want to put Greta in, but maybe for Payne, because I know you were more on him.
I wasn't more on him because like I enjoyed the direction. I was
Sure,
more on him
sure,
because
sure.
I had him in March just because I read the log line.
Right, right.
So
Uh, for best actress choice, this one is now we're getting into some competitive races. I feel like, no offense, it's all competitive, but these are like really competitive. Uh, I have Emma Stone winning for Poor Things. I reserve the right to change this many times between now and our final picks in March. But for right now, I have Emma winning, and I have Lily Gladstone in second, and Sandra in third.
I have where's this? Um, I have Lily, Sandra, or no, Emma, Sandra, Lily, Annette, and Carrie.
So I think Sandra is like highly competitive to win. I don't think it will happen, but I think it could happen.
She definitely needs the BAFTA because she is not nominated at SAG, as we know.
I
So
so the things that would change my mind on Emma now would be SAG. I guess SAG could still. I still think Lily would maybe win SAG, but maybe not. Honestly, I don't actually know anymore. I have her in first for SAG, and she
I don't
seems
think
like,
I've touched my SAG predictions.
and I feel like she would win SAG, and if she wins SAG, I feel like that's a great sign. BAFTA, if Sandra wins BAFTA, I'd be taking her very seriously, but I actually still think Emma maybe would win BAFTA. We'll see.
Well, so if Sandra wins BAFTA and Lily wins SAG, then who would you have for the Oscar? Because remember, no one has won Best Actress without a SAG nomination too.
I think if that happened, I would probably have Lily winning Best Actress at the Oscars. I
So there's
think
no Emma at all.
no. The reason being, I think people really do love her, and if I could just see this. It could renew the movie, like we said. I think the movie is maybe not peaked too soon, but like not as top of mind as Anatomy of Fall is like surging. It feels like Poor Things had like 11 nominations, but I still think Lily could come back because I think she's actually separate from the movie at this point.
I mean, like she is basically all they focus on for their campaign. Like they know it.
Yeah,
And um she like we talked about last week, I think SAG is both the easiest and hardest for her because they love a narrative. So that's check, easy. They could just go over her like that. But it's hard because her performance is just way more subtle than these other ones, and it's not like super baity in your face. And there's there's just a lot more that for not even like the actors in SAG, but like the AFTRA members in SAG to latch onto when they're watching Anatomy or Poor Things, or even Naiad and Maestro, honestly.
yeah. I gotta say, Flower Moon has hit Apple TV Plus, and I've gotten texts from real people who have attempted to watch it, and it's not going over great, at least in my
I don't
anecdotal.
know a regular person who's seen it, but my friend's dad, who hated Maestro, has no plans to see it because it's so long, but he will read the book.
I've known people who have watched it, and I've gotten texts like, why is this so long?" Uh,
Did they check out? Did they finish it? Was it a struggle?
one finished it as struggle, and one checked out.
Yeah, so I think you also have to keep that in mind. Like with the AFTRA members voting too.
That's what I mean. So
It's not just actors.
I think I might go to Emma for Poor Things for SAG. I think we could just see Emma kind of rolling through here. If she wins
She can win the
SAG,
rest.
I think she can win the rest and go all the way. Sandra would be a great win. I'm not sure I could really. I think she's really competitive, and I don't know if I could pull the trigger on that unless certain things happened. Like if so, let me ask you: if Sandra wins BAFTA and Lily wins SAG, who do you have winning the Oscar? Who would you say? Do you think Sandra win the
I
Oscar?
think Emma could still win in that scenario. I think all
Right,
three of them could win in that scenario.
right. But I think Sandra would have the best. That would be Sandra's best chance of winning, right? Like if she wins BAFTA.
Yeah, because that's her. Like Sandra and Lily only have one shot to win something else
Right,
because they're not nominated the other thing.
right,
Emma can win both.
right,
Um, so yeah, like if Sandra doesn't win BAFTA and then like Lily wins SAG, then I would say like maybe like she's third, but I don't know. Like that's it's also a different body. Like Oscar voters clearly love Anatomy more than SAG voters,
right,
or the SAG nom-com at least.
right.
So, and then I mean, like who knows? Like maybe some SAG members are also pissed that she wasn't nominated, and they can't vote for her.
I mean, I don't think she would have won SAG, but it doesn't really.
No.
It's such an easy movie to watch
Mhm.
that I feel like it would have been an easy SAG bait to get in there. I'm just assuming that it was not. They did not mobilize the campaign for SAG. That's the only thing I can think of because
Yeah,
it's
and she's
like
also not a huge name
right,
either. like she definitely could have gone in, but I honestly I never really seriously thought about predicting her for SAG. Like
No,
I just knew right away she was not getting it at SAG, but she was definitely getting in at the Oscars.
I knew she wasn't going to get in for SAG, but it does feel like an easy performance to imagine getting
Yeah,
in at
it's half in
SAG.
English.
It's so much in English. It truly is. It's like so much in English. Most of her performances too, because a lot of the French is literally just the court. Like
Yeah, it's a word. And then she's like, starting to testify in French, and then she asks if
truly,
she
then it just
stops
doesn't even
speaking
go
French.
back. It's the funniest thing.
But
It's completely in English, basically. The movie
yeah,
is like 50-50, I would say, maybe, or even I've seen like 60% in
it's
French.
like slightly more in French, and that's why it was eligible to be
Yes.
submitted
But
for
I would say her
international.
performance
Mhm.
is like 80% English because
Yeah, because like she doesn't know French, so
yes,
like their kitchen fight is in English.
that's like literally like a plot point is that she doesn't speak French and that
Yeah.
isolates her from these French people. And it's great as a watcher because then you're just like, man, I love this. She's great. Anyway, I think she could win, but
What about if at SAG, what if like Annette or Carrie or Margot?
that I just don't believe any of those could. I don't believe that. I just
I've
don't.
seen so many people try to suggest that. I'm like, no.
I mean, we talked about for Margot. I just don't think there was a lot of even me as someone who loves Barbie. I just would not put her in like the top three of my favorite perform. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not a
But I think
crime.
people's argument now is like because of the snubs. Oh my
Yeah, but
gosh.
even because of the snubs, I would
I
say
don't think they
like
would do that.
I don't think I would do that. I mean, she's wonderful in the movie. She's so funny, but like I just think like I would not put her at the top of my list. Snubs even included.
No. Like I think like a good performance. And you know what? Not everything needs awards attention. You can
No,
something can still be good and you can
yeah,
enjoy it and it could exist just like that.
right. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying them. Anybody else? I just think it's those three for Oscar, and we'll get more clarity as the next like 6 weeks moves forward. But I'm gonna stick with Emma right now. We didn't really talk about her, but Poor Things are like performed really well, certainly like in line. Uh, and she's won other things and
She's
just feels
won.
like she's won things where I
Well,
was like,
she won
okay,
the Globe and Critics' Choice, so she's like
non-industry, but sure.
undefeated right now. Um,
And
and
you could say like that was like Kate Blanchett won those two as well, and then like lost
but they're
momentum.
totally different races.
Yes.
And Lily is not Michelle Yeoh, and
And
Poor Things is not Tar.
correct. That's the thing. Poor Things is much more beloved, embraced than Tar, and Flower Moon is not as embraced as Everything Everywhere. And so there you go.
And then also just the characters they play, and then the actors like, themselves, like their own profiles too.
Right.
Like Michelle Yeoh was this legend. Like everyone knew her and loved her. And that was her first nomination. And a lot of people, had never heard of Lily until this season, even
Mhm.
though she's been around. But I don't think a lot of people saw Certain Woman.
No,
So
Marty did though. Thank God.
yeah, that's why you cast her. Um,
Um,
yeah, I think like Emma can totally do it, and I think, um, you know, like the argument against her is like it's like gonna be her second Oscar. I'm like, so what? Like they don't care.
I don't think
Like
they care. And I will say like I'm obviously way more into this like the subterfuge or whatever than you are, but I was like last year, it's not the reason Kate Blanchett lost, but she definitely
yeah,
got like dinged when she gave her Critics' Choice Award speech, and that nobody watched because nobody watched that show, but enough people watched that were like, kind of like, didn't really
that
stick the
was that
landing.
was enough for like film Twitter to ding her,
And
but like
that was enough,
no
I
real
think,
person watched that.
but that was enough. Industry people definitely did, and I think film Twitter industry people maybe take cues from film Twitter. I just think the general tone of that, I didn't
No,
even think
no
her
one's
speech was
online.
bad.
Online is not real.
It's a little real. And I think like it's not real, but it's a little real. And I think that definitely like it didn't cost her a victory or anything, but it definitely like changed the tenor of the race a little.
That was as real as Jane Campion's Critics' Choice speech being taken out of context on Twitter as well, and
But
people thought
that became a story though. That was
that
also
became a
real.
story, and then people thought she would lose. I'm like, she's not fucking losing the Oscar.
She didn't lose, but again, I'm
So
just saying like these
no,
things matter.
here's the thing. If Kate had won last year, no one would be talking about this. But because she had lost, this is evidence for people who are like, see, I knew she was going to lose because of the speech after she gave it on January 15th,
There were
20.
reasons why she lost, certainly, like we said, like
There were
everything
like
everywhere.
a lot of other reasons why she lost.
All
But
I'm
like this
saying,
is easy. ammo for people who were not predicting her to win to use against her. And there's no proof either way that it affected anything.
There's no proof, but there's no not proof, I would say.
No, but it's also like it's so minuscule in the entire realm of things that it's like you can't, like, no one remembers that happening. And
people remember it, Joyce.
like,
we're talking about
no
it.
Twitter remembers. Like, we remember a lot more things than the industry does. Okay,
maybe true. The reason I brought it up is because, by contrast, Emma Stone, when she won her Golden Globe, which was a surprise, not an industry award. Oh no, I'm sorry. Was it?
Golden Globe was not a
sorry.
surprise. I mean, Critics'
No,
Choice.
Critics' Choice Award. I forgot that even Critics' Choice Awards exist. When she won that and gave her speech, she was very gracious to Lily, and I think that was like a good moment for Emma in terms of like people were not mad that she won. They were like, "Oh, we're happy she won."
Okay, but people weren't mad that Kate won either. It was just her speech that people latched onto.
They were mad after she won because she didn't appear gracious to win.
Yeah, but like the win itself, they're not mad that she won.
They weren't mad at the moment, but then when she gave the speech, I think they were. That's all I'm saying.
They're not like, no. And the thing with Emma is like, we already knew they love her and the performance from the Globes.
Right. And they love her. I'm just saying, like, I think that was a good moment for her. We'll see if it carries.
And like, no one remembers that. That's what I'm saying. So,
for Best Actor choice, this one I'm torn on as well. I've got Cillian Murphy winning though, and then Paul in second. Paul's first in the odds, and Cillian Murphy's in second. Then somehow Bradley in third, Jeffrey Wright in fourth, and Coleman in fifth. But I have Jeffrey Wright in third, Bradley in fourth, and Coleman in fifth.
I have Cillian, Paul, Jeffrey, Bradley, and Coleman.
I reserve the right to change this too. I feel like Paul would probably still could win SAG, but also why wouldn't Cillian Murphy just win all of these awards? I guess that's what I just keep coming back to. Like, they love the movie. He's the whole movie. Like, why would he not win? He's the titular role.
I've had Cillian since the summer, basically like since Oppie came out, and I have never had any good reason to move him out of first yet, so I'm just gonna keep him there for now. Like, we haven't had BAFTA or SAG yet, so I'm like, I don't see any reason to put someone else in first. Like, I never had Bradley in first. Like, I've always just had Cillian this whole time.
The most likely scenario, I guess, would be Paul wins SAG, Cillian wins BAFTA, right? Would you agree? That seems like,
which is probably what everyone thinks will happen. So,
and even if that happens, I'm still like, again, comparing it to last year, it's a different race because I think Brendan Fraser had like a big comeback kind of narrative that people really liked. And Paul has never gone away. And he's a beloved actor who's never won an Oscar, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he would just win an Oscar to me, right? We've seen they're not that they're sentimental in terms of like people in a comeback part or like but they're not sentimental and you never won. We'll give it, eventually you'll win an honorary Oscar or something at the very least, right? Like, I don't know. I love him. I love Paul Giamatti. He's great in the movie. Definitely the best part of the movie to me. But yeah, I just think Cillian will win. It's why I just don't understand why Oppenheimer, like Cillian Murphy, would not win for Oppenheimer. It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah. And it's a great performance too. Mm-hmm. I don't really understand. I feel like there are people who just don't want him to win, which is fine. Like, you don't like his performance, okay. But the excuses that people come up with of like that his performance is not emotional enough, I'm like, I think it is. Like, he's not chewing the scenery or anything, but like his performance still makes you feel, right? And I think that's what you need to connect to the audience. And Oppenheimer does that. Like, people always say Oppenheimer's cold. I'm like, it's not like warm and fuzzy, like how a lot of people describe The Holdovers, which also Alexander Payne has pushed back against.
Yeah, but he should watch his movie maybe because it is warm and fuzzy.
Like, Oppenheimer is still powerful, and it's just like, I always like just think about the last image or like the last scene, really, in the last lines, and like people come out of that wanting to talk about it. Like, it's not uplifting or anything. It's not feel good or happy, but it's still emotional because it's thought provoking. And you might feel bad about the state of the world, but it's not leaving you like on a complete downer. It was like, oh, like I can't believe I just sat through that. Like that fucking sucked. Like,
Right.
you know, like what a waste of my time. And that was a terrible ending. Like people like that ending.
Yes.
So it's not like your traditional, it's not like a coda, but I think it's wrong to say that it's cold.
And so like the other thing I was thinking was like everything. I agree with everything you said, and I think Oppenheimer is it. It's not cold at all. The emotional Paul Giamatti make you cry in holdovers, right? Like I think that's what people really like. That last scene when he's like trying not to cry and like, whatever. People like that. Okay. But I was thinking too, like, in terms of best picture winners, we haven't had like a movie. Tell me if you agree with this. It's okay, obviously you might not. We haven't had a movie like Oppenheimer win in a while, right? Like certainly like that kind of like biopicy great man, big movie with like a lead actor carrying the movie win. So I'm looking at the list and it's like Birdman won in 2015. That would be kind of like at least similar to Oppenheimer and like it's about a guy, right? Like just basically. And Keaton lost Best Actor, but he lost to the biopic, right? That was
We
Eddie
lost to the
Redmayne.
Beattier performance. Yeah.
And then 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture the year before. Similarly, lost to the biopic, Beatty biopic, which was Matthew McConaughey, right? Like over Chiwetel Ejiofor. And then you go back to like The Artist before that, and Jean Dujardin won. You go back to like The King's Speech before that, Colin Firth won. I just am like, I don't know. I think this is like that would be more like this. There's no the Paul Giamatti is not Eddie Redmayne or Matthew McConaughey. I would say, you know what I mean. The
Yes,
movies are not
the
similar.
role in his film is not that. Like Killian has that role.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not like super transformative or
Mhm.
like, Matthew or Eddie in their films. Um, he has like minor prosthetics at the end basically when
Right,
he's old. But like
and
that's it. But it's still the biopic performance.
and it reminds me truly of The Artist year because like that was like a year Clooney could have easily won in an Alexander Payne movie doing like an Alexander Payne thing, and it was like, you know what? No, we're just gonna the movie we loved, and we're gonna pick the actor in the movie we love, and I feel like that we're gonna see the same thing happen here in the end.
And that was the last time Best Picture and Best Actor lined up, which
Right.
I like early on in the season, people also use that against Killian winning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but because also at that point, Bradley wasn't first in the odds. I'm like, okay, but that's happened more recently than someone directing themselves to a Best Actor win.
Yes. I just feel like we're gonna this is like The Artist year. That's how I'm viewing it. I'm like that was like a steamroller movie in terms of like what it won. And so is this. And I just feel like there's no reason that he'll lose.
Yeah, like I think they can split BAFTA and SAG. I also wouldn't be surprised if like Paul won BAFTA either, but I think Killian will probably win that, not because he's Irish, because like Colin Farrell lost last year, but I think BAFTA also likes those types of performance too, like the biopic performance, like
Hmm.
Austin Butler won last year.
Hmm.
It was like, and then the year before, people were like, "Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch will win because he's British," and they still went with Will Smith biopic performance.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I just
so,
think exactly right. I think will not the biopic has an automatic leg up in this. It just does. And Oppenheimer is while it's a lot better than certainly I use biopic now to be like, this sucks, shorthand for bad. But it is still a biopic. It just happens to be a great one. So I think he'll be fine.
um, and then I feel like Paul is just in first. Like again, I love Paul Giamatti, and I'll be very happy if he won the
Yeah.
Oscar. But I feel like he's in first now because he won Critics' Choice.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, here he comes. And like we said, he'll win. I think a lot of people think he'll win SAG. Even I mean, I think he'll win SAG too. But I still think Killian will win Best Actor at the Oscars. So
I mean, yeah, I think either of them can win, and Paul has four SAGs,
mhm.
so three individual. So yeah, and he's like the classic, like beloved actor, like not like a super huge star, but everyone loves him and knows him, and he's been around for like 30
Mhm.
years. But Killian's been around for like 22 years. you
Yeah,
know.
he's not like Austin Butler. Again, another bad, it wouldn't be like a great comp where it's
He's
like,
not new, and people love Peaky Blinders,
right.
so
Um, Next up is supporting actress. I feel like we could burn through this and supporting actor without as much ink spilled or words spoken. I have Devon Joy Randolph winning. I'm sure you do as well.
yeah. Um, Davine, and then I have Jodie Foster in second,
Wow.
and then Emily Blunt, and then America Ferrera, and then Danielle Brooks.
I have America in second, and then I have Emily, Jodie, and Danielle. But I don't think it's gonna
Because of
matter.
Barbie?
Yeah, I do. Uh, and then supporting actor Joyce. This one I feel like again another Good Night the Lights. Maybe I have Robert Downey Jr. clearly winning here. I have no doubt that he will win. And then I have Gosling in second, and De Niro in third, Sterling K. Brown in fourth, Mark Ruffalo in fifth.
I have RDJ, Ryan, Sterling, Mark, and De Niro. So this is something we talked about once in our column like months ago, but with supporting basically locked for these two films, Holdovers and Oppenheimer, that was the other thing people were trying to play Oscar math with. It's like, can it pull another acting win for their films in Best Actor? So it would be Holdovers like Best Actor, Supporting Actress, or Oppie, Actor, Supporting Actor.
Right. I mean, right now I would say it's going to be Oppie, but if
Yeah.
Holdovers,
And you know what? Every 10 years we get actor and supporting actor going to the same film, because 10 years ago it was Dallas Buyers Club, and 10 years before that was Mystic River. So we're due.
um, adapted screenplay, this one I find really difficult, and I want to go to any one of these nominees I can make a case for. But I'm gonna have Oppenheimer winning for now. Then I have Barbie, American Fiction, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. I'm not ready to put Barbie in first just yet.
Do you really think it could win because of its snubs?
I do think that would help, but I don't think it is going to win. I think Oppenheimer will win. But why again? Like I'm sure I don't know what you have, but I was like, if it's going to win Best Picture, probably does this. But then I'm like, is Nolan going to win 3 Oscars? But I guess he could
They
and
don't
probably will.
care. Like Iñárritu won 3 for
Yeah,
Birdman, when
yeah,
people were like, oh, they could split it
yeah,
between like him and
yeah,
Linklater and
yeah,
West.
yeah.
Um, I think it's between American Fiction and Oppie,
Hmm.
and I currently have American Fiction in first.
Would love to see it. It would be so great.
And then I have Oppie. Um, and then I have Poor Things, and then Barbie, and then Zone of Interest.
Uh, I'd love to see American Fiction win. Make the case for it winning here.
It could just be the consolation prize that we've seen time and time again.
Hmm.
For a Best Picture also ran, a well-liked film, it's not going to win anything else. Like, this is really the only category it can win.
So I would maybe feel better about putting it in first if it wins SAG, because I think, like, again, like I still think people are underestimating it,
I don't
and
think it even needs to win SAG to win this.
I think it would help it win this because I think it
Well,
would
obviously,
create
like every win
visibility.
helps, but I
Yeah.
don't think it needs to win that
No.
to win it. I yeah, like I mean, I had Oppie in first, like throughout phase one. So like I can see myself going back there too. Like I there's no consensus in this category either.
No. And you're gonna
Um,
have a lot of people predicting Barbie.
yeah, a lot of people are gonna think the backlash will help Barbie, and I do not subscribe to that idea.
I actually thought it would hurt it
Yes.
personally. Not because like the Oscars don't like to be told what to do, but I also think it looks incredibly uncool.
The
Like
thing
it
is,
bad vibes.
it's I I don't think they love the movie that much in the first place. And I I think, you know, like this is already a competitive category it was moved to from original. I mean, I didn't have it winning an original either, but
Mhm.
this is even more competitive than original. And I I feel like, if the backlash were also just normal, like normal reactions to snubs, it's like, oh, that sucked. I wish I got in, moving on. It'd be fine. And I don't even think people would be suggesting like it could win as because, you know, like they were like Greta and Margot were snubbed in director and actress, but because it was so loud and aggressive. And again, like I don't think a lot of industry people pay attention to the internet and like Twitter. But with like Hillary Clinton weighing in on it, like that I do think they notice. And that's just like completely out of control. And I do think like they don't like being told how to feel and what to do.
I I don't know if they care about that much. I think that's like overblown, especially based on what's won recently, because I think they've shown that they actually do care what like they do like to be told what to do based on like some winners recently.
No.
But I mean, look at some of the best picture winners we've had.
But I think that's more them like liking it. Like if they listened to the internet, then Green Book would have never won.
No, but would have any of these other movies that won would have won? Do you think Parasite would have won? Do you
I
think
think
Coda
that's
would have
just them
won?
liking it. That's just like I mean, I predicted Parasite because I was like, it was just, you know,
I don't,
that the
I think
feel
they're
of the moment.
I think they're fine to be pushed around, but I do think the Hillary it's incredibly uncool to get a tweet from Hillary Clinton, I would say.
That was just I was like, it's over. Like it's just
That's
too
the
much.
death
That's
now.
too much. It was just confined to the internet, like yelling at each other. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But with her also weighing in, I'm like, that they will notice for sure.
And not like it.
Yes. Like
Like,
that's the thing. And like and then on top of like I also just don't think they love it that much anyway. Barbie, you
well,
know.
certainly not as much as like Oppenheimer or even American Fiction based on like where it was nominated, even though it has less nominations. So I think it would be
Like
great if American Fiction won, but
it's like Coda won this and I would have given it to any of the other four nominees that year. But that was also winning Best Picture. Like Barbie is not winning Best Picture.
the reason, I mean, I think like that's why I think American Fiction needs like something to get the visibility up a little more to get the whole Academy here to like be behind it. That's why I'm not ready to predict it yet, but I do think it would be a great win, and I could see it happening.
Well, what do you think will win at BAFTA? Because Coda won that at BAFTA, and that was when I was like, damn, they like this movie.
Coda won that at BAFTA, but after it won at SAG, right?
Mhm.
So
But that's adapted screenplay.
no, I know, but I'm saying like that was really the only like the reason like we said like BAFTA didn't go for Coda, so it won at SAG. The industry was like the momentum was building, and then of course it just won there because where else was it going to win, basically, right? Like
Yeah, but if like Troy won, they could have just taken care of it with Troy. That's it.
yeah,
They
but
didn't need to give it adapted screenplay as well. That's what I'm saying. Like Troy was already set. Like it was after SAG, but it was like he was already set. Like you didn't need to give it two awards.
I mean I
But
think
like that
they
was just
did.
like the industry loving the movie.
They
Like
loved
they're
it.
just all in on the movie.
They loved it. So that's why I mean, like, I think if it wins, if American Fiction wins SAG, I could see it winning here. But I would probably just go Oppenheimer adapted screenplay, or maybe All of Us Strangers. Even I don't know.
At BAFTA, I don't know if like all of us strangers win. I mean, like American Fiction got in there at BAFTA, which that was its only nomination. It didn't do well on the long list, um, expected, but it didn't get Jeffrey right into actor. So just got I don't know, like I can see it like at BAFTA I can see it being Oppie or Poor Things.
I mean, Poor Things would make sense too. That's why I mean, I just think like Oppie's gonna end up winning this. I don't know. I think American Fiction needs like a little bit of a like a little bit of
Yeah,
push.
like I can just totally see Oppie sweeping,
Yeah,
like writing and directing.
yeah.
It's definitely more of the tech film, but it's also talky and writerly too.
But also, all the people are voting, right? So all the tech
Yeah.
folks are gonna
Yeah,
like.
but I'm saying like it's not the type of best picture winner where it wins director and not screenplay. Like it
Right.
could definitely win
Yeah.
screenplay along with it.
And then original screenplay, I'm all in on Anatomy of the Fall. I think you are as well. And then I have The Holdovers, Past Lives, May December, and Maestro.
Um, yeah, I have that same order.
Most people have that top two. Uh, I think Anatomy's got this like locked up. Personally, I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised if it did not win.
And it's also the only um uh script but like I think it's winning BAFTA. So basically with like WGA delayed and everything, and also a ton of ineligible scripts too, like kind of irrelevant. But because like Justine won the Globe and like she'll probably win BAFTA, also Autor Arari. Like if they win like at BAFTA, like they're gonna be the only ones like winning this category,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
The visibility is a big factor.
um and like this is also a place to award it
And it's
too.
the strongest of these nominees. It's clearly the strongest nominee because it's got editing and directing and an acting and picture. And Holdovers has some of those, but not directing. So
Yeah. And like I don't think they think of it that way. It's like, oh, I need to vote for this somewhere else because I'm not going to vote for it in like best picture or something, but I think when they do look at the category itself, they, you like I think most of them will just gravitate towards Anatomy if that was one of their favorite films.
right,
You know, it's like, oh, Oppenheimer is not here.
right.
Like I can vote for it here. Um and then like this category, you know, they like auteurs,
Mhm.
and Alexander Payne did not write The Holdovers.
Mhm.
As we know, I don't know how many more people know that. But um the last person to win this category who did not direct the movie as well was David Seidler for The King's Speech.
Yeah. I'm not going to bet against it. I'm not going to go Holdovers here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think it's just between those two.
For cinematography, Joyce, I have Oppenheimer, then Flower Moon, Poor Things, Maestro, and El Conde.
Same.
Not much to say. It just feels like this is where it would win, clearly. No
Yeah.
offense to Rodrigo, but seems like Hoyte will get his Oscar here. Now, costume design, Joyce. I've got Poor Things. I don't feel good about it. And then I have Barbie, Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, and Napoleon.
I don't feel good about this or production design. So I'll just tell you right now for both of them, I still have Barbie, but that's only because of my Barbie is Black Panther 2.0 theory.
What are the odds that these split, these two?
I think they definitely can, but then it's like, which one would you go with?
So I think the Barbie costumes are amazing, but I also think they're just like not going to be
They're
taken
just,
as seriously as like the costume gown, like the
well,
period
yeah, because they're
costume.
recreations
Yeah,
of,
and I just feel like that's going to be like that could be the part reason why. And I think production design, I actually think Barbie really should win, but I'm actually not sure it will. But I'm probably going to predict it there and not costumes. So maybe that's stupid. I should just predict it in both spots, like you're saying, and hope it wins one.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, this is like, again, like Yorgos Lanthimos versus like a huge blockbuster cultural phenomenon. And last time the blockbuster cultural phenomenon won both of them. But I do think like Poor Things is flashier than The Favorite in both categories. I think like The Favorite had, you know, uh more ornate gowns, but Poor Things has greater variety.
I
Like
think that's
Favorite has
true.
bigger gowns.
And I think Barbie and Black Panther has way more, at least outwardly obvious, like creative
Yeah, like
costumes.
those costumes are incredible
And
in Panther.
Barbie has really cool stuff, but at the same time, it's like there's a whole scene where they're wearing painter smocks, right? So it just is like, are people gonna like, are you gonna take this seriously versus Poor Things in the category? And when you're like, if you're, I don't know, I actually don't know.
I don't know.
So I'm gonna go
That's why
Poor
I'm
Things.
just like, I'm not gonna think about this anymore. I'm just gonna do double Barbie for now.
Okay. So we'll get. I'm gonna do Barbie in production design, but I'll keep Poor Things in costume. For film editing, I have Oppenheimer and then Anatomy of Fall, Holdovers, Poor Things, and Flower Moon.
Um, I have Oppie, Anatomy, Poor Things, Flower Moon, and Holdovers.
Another win for Oppie. I just have Oppenheimer just
Yeah.
steamrolling here. It's crazy. Makeup and hair. This one I have maybe an upset. I have Poor Things winning, and then I have Maestro, Oppenheimer, Golda, and Society of the Snow. I'm thinking it could win Best Actress in here for makeup in here.
I also have Poor Things.
So this reminds me a little of Babylon score race last year, where it's like obviously Babylon like was the favorite for like the whole time, and great score, awesome,
Beautiful score.
biggest score, most music, like all these things. And then when push came to shove, the movie that the Academy just liked more won here in the category, right? Like with All Quiet.
Yeah, and it's that, and also like it, like just look at Willem Dafoe movie.
And so I'm like, with Poor Things and Maestro, now Maestro has more Oscar nominations and certainly did better overall than Babylon did. But I get the sense it's the same kind of thing where there's not a lot of enthusiasm overall for the movie from the Academy. And so would it win here, or would like a really big time nominee that has potential to win at least one or two more Oscars, why wouldn't it win here, basically, is my thing. So, and you're right, like the Willem Dafoe transformation is amazing. And yeah, there's just like a lot of like, I think Emma's look is like really unique, and like obviously a lot of makeup in that as well. I don't know.
I was also thinking, like, what if Oppie just wins this too?
I mean, it could. I have it in third. I just am like, I think it's a little too subtle based on what they've had win in the past.
It's yeah, I mean, like I have it in third too. Like I'm not gonna put it in first, but I would not be shocked if it also won this. Yeah, I feel like everyone just kind of locked in Maestro from the beginning.
Hmm.
And I don't even think this has anything to do with like the controversy about his nose. Like no one cares. But yeah, like I think Poor Things is the stronger movie, and it also just has more obvious
Mm-hmm.
makeup as well. So I think it could pull it out
Yeah.
over it. So I don't have Maestro winning anything.
No.
And I
Same.
think most people have it winning this as it's
And that's why I feel like it's like Babylon, because it's like, well, it's not going to win any. Like, why? Like, they didn't love it. You know what I mean? Like, it just is like, I think when it's the whole Academy voting in these, maybe it was just the makeup branch, like it would have won. But if we have everyone voting, like, I think Poor Things would probably have the edge.
so like the last 2 years, the makeup winner won a lead acting
Right.
award because it was The Whale and Tammy Faye. Um, and then the year before that was Ma Rainey
Mm-hmm.
winning, which did not win an acting award. And then before that was Bombshell.
Yeah, that's why I got Emma winning, not just because of this, but I'd be like, this could be 3 years in a row with that. And then production design, like we just talked about, I'm going to stick with Barbie here. I actually think it has a better shot at production design than costume design, but I guess it could win both, and maybe I should just predict it in both. Then I have Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, and Napoleon.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I guess if you're like an anti-Barbie person, you would say like it's the Mattel stuff and The Office is bad, but I'm like the Barbie Land stuff is so good,
If it wins, it would just be like all the Barbie Land stuff.
which is It's incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, like it is really well done, and I think it's more impressive than Poor Things, which, you know what, I've seen kind of before. I've not seen like Barbie Land before rendered in that fashion. And I've seen the stuff in Poor Things previously. You know, it's not as unique to me.
I mean, I've seen Barbie Land, as like my playhouse when I was a kid. So
Right. For score, I have Oppenheimer. Then I have Flower Moon, Poor Things, Indie, and American Fiction.
I have Oppie, Flower Moon, Poor Things, American Fiction, and Indie.
I think there'll be a nice. People are really going to be hopeful for. I mean, Robert Robertson as a posthumous nominee, and like, there's an affection for him there, but I don't see anything stopping Oppenheimer here.
No. But yeah, there are a lot of hope dictions.
Yeah.
For Robbie.
For song, I got Barbie, What Was I Made For, and then Barbie, I'm Just Ken, and then American Symphony, Flamin' Hot, and Kills the Flower Moon. But I'm really close to I'm Just Ken here. I think overall it'll end up being What Was I Made For, but I actually think most people actually like I'm Just Ken more. And I think it could be one of these things where they're just like, what was I movie was going to win? I'm just going to put my favorite, and then I'm Just Ken wins.
I have What Was I Made For, and I'm Just Ken. I think most people have that as the top
Yeah,
two.
and that's the top two in the odds. Like I said, I think that could easily happen, but I'm also like, I think if you ask people, most people would say I'm Just Ken is their favorite, better song.
Um, I don't like I don't know how much they're thinking too deeply about this category.
Certainly based on past history, they're not thinking deeply about it at all. So
Like
that's like,
I think they're definitely aware of both songs because I think they've seen Barbie, unlike past years where it's
yes.
like, do we even know if they've heard the song?
But
Because
they've
a
seen
lot of
this.
them are credit songs. So, but I think they've heard both of these songs, and I don't like. I think they could just be lazy and just default to Billy.
Yeah. I,
So
it's a great
I
song too. I don't want like Billy Stans to come for me. I really love it, but I just think I'm Just Ken is like just all time one of the great songs.
how mad will the internet be if Just Ken wins? Because then it's like, oh my God, Ken's song won an Oscar.
I don't think people would be mad. I don't know. I think they'll be like kind of thrilled actually because I think people like the movie, like the song a lot.
One of my favorite things about the backlash was that people were trying to like villainize Ryan because it was hard for them to find a villain in this scenario
Yes.
because it was so easy to poke holes through all their defenses,
Yes.
you know. And it was just funny to me because it's like when this movie came out in July, all of you were calling for Ryan to win an Oscar.
There was a break where I saw people being like, if I was I love when they I love when we're socially conscious that we infantilize the women who make the movies. Seen that
Oh
with
yeah.
Poor Things. Saw
Mhm.
that with Barbie. I saw somebody being like, I don't even remember the tweet, but it was like, oh, Margot, when Ryan Gosling pitched I'm Just Ken, Margot Robbie should
Oh
have
yeah,
like
she should have
thrown
said
him.
no.
I'm like, do you this
Like,
is
what do
the
you think happened here? And also, Greta Gerwig fought for that sequence to be included in the
truly
movie.
like I just love I love when we infantilize women like that. It's so
Like, Margot
incredible.
was his
Just
boss.
it's just an incredible stuff being so
Yeah,
socially
Margot, his
conscious.
boss, had no control over what was going in the film.
It
Yeah,
really makes me it makes to quote another Greta Gerwig movie that I love, it makes me laugh, Joyce. uh
it's just great. All of the harebrained defenses for it were amazing. So,
Best sound, I have Oppenheimer. Then I put Dead Reckoning Part 1 in second, Maestro Zone of Interest in the Creator. But I think Oppenheimer will win this pretty easily.
I have Oppie, Zone, Maestro, Mission Impossible, and The Creator.
And then for visual effects, Joyce, I do have Godzilla in first. I think I forsook it on the nominations, but I'm back in. Then I have Guardians Creator, Dead Reckoning, and Napoleon.
So I did initially put Godzilla in here just to like fill it out and move on. But now I have Napoleon
Wow.
and then Godzilla and then The Creator, um, and then Guardians and Mission Impossible.
Why'd you go with Napoleon?
Because it's the prestige movie here. It's like there's no Best Picture nominee here. Like remember I said if Poor Things made it in, I would just predict Poor Things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Napoleon is the most that feels like a Best Picture nominee
I think you
here.
can
It
make the
reminds
case.
me of when First Man won this over Avengers
Mhm.
Infinity War. You
I think
know?
you can make the case that Napoleon was like 11 or 12 for Best
It got great
Picture.
nominations. It got these craft nominations were not like super surprising. But I do feel like it and like the visual effects are kind of subtle, like they're not very obvious ones like Godzilla, obviously, but um yeah, I feel like they could just go with what feels like a Best Picture nominee, but
Interesting.
wasn't.
Interesting. For animated feature, Joyce, this one we have an email about this later that we could read, but I'm not going to read it now. But I have Spider-Verse winning, and then Boy and the Heron, and I think this is going to be pretty competitive down to the Oscar night. But I'll stick with Spider-Verse for now.
I have Spider-Verse. I think they don't really think about this.
Yeah.
So
I will say Spider-Verse underperformed though.
it underperformed if you really wanted it to get into score. But they also don't really nominate animated films outside of the animated feature
Correct.
film
Correct.
category a lot. Like some of them have gotten screenplay, but a lot of them don't usually get into these other craft categories. So
For Doc, I have 20 Days in Mariupol, Four Daughters, Eternal Memory, Bobby Wine, and To Kill a Tiger. Bobby or Bobby?
same. Bobby.
International film. This one's pretty easy. I have Zone of Interest. Without Anatomy of Fall here. I hope if Jonathan Glazer accept when he thanks France maybe for this win.
But he's not winning it himself. It's
I know, but he does the speech. The country doesn't go up there, and they're not putting the whole country England up there.
On behalf of the United Kingdom. Thank you.
We'd like to thank France.
France take another L.
France, congratulations. Thank you. On behalf of the UK, thank you. Because this would have been the easiest Anatomy of Fall win in the history of Oscars. Now it feels like it's the easiest Zone of Interest win. So
this ensures that Zone will be an Oscar winner.
Yes.
Not for Jonathan Glazer, but the film itself.
Right.
And then so this will be another Best Picture nominee that can win an Oscar.
For animated short, I have Letter to a Pig, and then War is Over. 95 Cents is Pachyderme, or however Jack Quaid said it, and then Our Uniform.
I have the same. I'm just really debating between Letter to a Pig and War is Over.
Letter to a Pig, I think, is Holocaust, right? About the Holocaust.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna lean there.
I know, but like one of my theories is also like a great title, and then like War is Over.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Documentary short, I have the ABCs of book banning. That's first in the odds as well. I have Last Repair Shop, Nine Eye and WIPO, The Barber of Little Rock, and The Island in Between.
I have Nine Eye and WIPO, Last Repair Shop, Barber, ABCs, and Island.
Wow. So tell me about why you have Nine Eye and WIPO.
I think I'm between that and Last Repair Shop.
Okay.
I think because like it's like heartwarming. Just grandmas. And like I don't know if you saw their reaction video to the nomination. Adorable. So I think it's gonna start streaming on Disney Plus in a week too.
Yes. And the director just had a big Sundance movie.
Sundance, yeah.
Sean Wong.
And then I think Last Repair Shop like checks a lot of boxes too as a winner. I feel like ABC's is just in first because people just see the title and it's like
that's why I have it in first, and I also wonder if that's how people will vote for it because nobody likes book banning, right? That's like a good boogie.
Yeah, and I know I just said like a good title helps, but I feel like it needs to be also kind of like interesting and exciting or like funny, like My Year of Dicks.
Right. True. I might go to 99 WIPO by the end. I guess we'll see. And then live action short, Joyce. I have Henry Sugar, but I'm not convinced. And then I have Night of Fortune, The After, Red, White, and Blue, and Invincible.
I have the same, and I'm not like convinced either. So
I got a lot of heat in the comments on our YouTube video because you
mentioned this last week.
Henry Sugar wasn't any good. I just don't love it. And I just wonder, do people really, obviously the answer is yes, it got an Oscar nomination and like, but are people like super passionate about this movie?
I mean, I don't know.
And like, is this where Wes Anderson is literally going to win his Oscar in the short film category?
I mean, people have won Oscars in shorts, Riz
Certainly.
did it. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely the most seen of all of these for sure.
Yes.
But I also don't think like they would default. Like last year people thought like, because Alfonso Cuarón produced Le Pupille, like they thought like locked, because it's Alfonso.
Right.
Like no.
Here's what I'm wondering, and I see this a lot, is like people are, including us, I have it in first, you do too. just seemingly like, well, here's where Wes Anderson's going to get his Oscar. Can't wait. We could cross him off.
I
But I'm
mean,
like,
I didn't put it in there because of that, but I know that's people's logic.
that seems like the people's logic broadly. If you accept it, I think most people have done that, and I'm just like, they've never shown they actually like Wes Anderson or want to give him an Oscar. So why would they? Why would now be the time? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's. It's like Bradley Cooper. I actually think if he directed a short film and was here, like, you could argue that they actually would give Bradley Cooper. Like, people like Bradley Cooper, the movies that he's done, the performances. He's lost these races that he's lost for like defensible reasons. But I'm like, Wes has never won and easily could have won before. And I don't know. I just don't think, like, I'm not sure. Like you were saying before, like, he could have won for Grand Budapest, right? Like, that was an easy one to imagine. Great film, Best Picture nominee, like, lost to Birdman, right? I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know that they really need. There's not a lot of. I think online there's a lot of push to give Wes Anderson an Oscar, and I think in the Academy there's not. So that's why I think like something like Night of Fortune really could win here. It just seems like right to something they
I
would
have
like.
Night of Fortune in second, and it's last, to be
Yeah,
honest.
well, it was last in the odds for the
I know,
nomination.
and I said I was like, it's being underestimated. So,
I really
um,
think it could win, but I'm not going to switch it yet. But I'm not sure this is where Wes wins an Oscar.
I don't know. I mean, like, we could also just be overthinking it, like we did last year with the Apple Shore with all the animals, whatever order they're in. You know, it was
Boy in
very
the
long.
Cloud and the Heron or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
the cloud and the heron. It was like
I did
the
interviews
fox,
with
the
it.
mole. Like,
I did interviews for it. The boy, the fox, the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse.
sure, sure, just the animals. Um, so I okay, so everyone can vote for the winners.
Yes.
Um, we know some people also abstain from the shorts because they don't watch them, they don't pay attention to them, so they do the honorable thing. They're like, I'm gonna sit these categories out. We know this from a lot of anonymous ballots over
Sure.
the years.
Yeah.
And then we also know some people do watch it and they're like, I made an effort to watch these shorts, hated this one, love this one, voting for this one, whatever. This one's gonna win, but it sucks. So I guess it's also like how many people do you think will do the due diligence to watch all of these to make an informed decision? And then how many people do you think will also sit out these shorts because they don't care enough and they're not going to watch them?
Right. I don't
So
know.
I mean, I think like if there's enough of that and there's enough of people watching these shorts, like he could probably lose, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, I think it's like a false logic to think he's gonna win because it's like what it's like the same reason why we didn't have Strange Way of Life getting even nominated. It's just like just because it's Almodovar doesn't mean it's gonna get in.
Yeah, a lot of people just think it's like name check. Like they name check Diane Warren and John Williams.
To nominate,
Yeah.
not to win.
But like but it was just like Strange Way of Life. I'm just like that doesn't it's not like an automatic nomination just because you have famous people
Right.
behind them. So, and I feel like some of them probably don't even know like who's behind most of these, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um but I don't know. So, I
So
have that.
those are our first picks, Joyce. Can't wait to revise these in 6 weeks.
You know,
5
when you
weeks.
were mentioning Bradley, I was like, we didn't even talk about him at all in Best Actor. Like,
I mean,
how's
not
my
that it's not going to work this time around.
What if
But
he wins SAG? A lot of people still think he will win SAG.
boy, I just would have a hard time believing that, Joyce. I don't know.
I just really can't see it.
I truly love Bradley Cooper. He's like one of my favorite actors still, but I just think this is not it. He needs to do like the Departed Argo type thing.
I think he needs someone else to direct him.
I think that's probably true, but I think actually my thing is I think he needs someone else to write for him. Like,
Well, yes. I mean, like he needs to be an actor for hire in another film.
or he could direct himself in a script that he didn't write. So, uh, but that said, he should have won for Stars More, and I'll drop dead thinking that no matter when I will go to the grave thinking he should have won for Stars
I
More.
don't care about that race. They could just, you know, eliminate that whole category. That was not a great year. That year, overall. So
I mean, it's seen better years.
there's been a lot better years. But yeah, I don't think about that year a lot.
All right, so we have some questions related to the pod. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's from our old pal Gina, who we've read a couple of times. Long email, Joyce. So get cozy, I guess. Pull an Alexander Payne and get cozy for this one. Hi, Chris and Joyce. It's been a long road to Oscar nominations, but we finally made it. Here are some general thoughts. Some points are bolded for further discussion, easier reading, because I have a tendency to ramble on. I've had Justine Triet as one of the directors for 5 months, and when I told people that she could be the female representation for that category, people didn't believe me, implying they just settled with Jonathan Glazer instead, none of us knowing that they would both get in. I'm glad I stuck with my gut, and my prediction paid off. I'll let Gina take a victory lap there. She, like you, had Justine for months.
We knew, so we believe.
Coleman Domingo's nomination is so historic in more ways than one. First Afro-Latino and second out gay actor in the category. And while I'm so proud of him, I also feel like a lot of people were quicker to doubt him than usual, especially after the SAG-BAFTA noms were revealed. It gave me some more flashbacks to people dismissing Will Smith's wins the King Richard year. But like Trier and director, I stuck with the SAG-5 and actor, and that paid off too. Not only did the Netflix dual noms continue after the break in 2023, but the TIFF Tribute Performer Award recipient, Coleman Domingo, and the TIFF Audience Award winner, American Fiction, both carried over. Does this signal the TIFF Awards as a developing precursor for the Oscar nominations in a sense, or do we still have a long way to go for that to happen? What do you think, Joyce? Specifically the tribute performer.
I mean, the way those are selected is like a whole thing. So I think like sometimes that's just like coincidental. So it's not like it's not like the People's Choice Award where it's like a vote. And
yeah.
Yeah. So those are, they're like the Palm Springs Awards and the Santa Barbara.
They're still giving out awards. I'm still getting emails with tributes to Paul Giamatti.
They locked down the people to come, so yeah, so they're coming. But like we knew about the audience award, the TIFF already.
That one we were hip to.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 points here from Gina. Following Annette Bening's nomination, one would assume that Margot Robbie was 6th in Best Actress. But then who would be 7th? If we're assuming it's all based on precursors, I would imagine Fantasia was in the 7th spot, especially given how Color Purple performed at SAG compared to Fast Lives and Fantasia's jury save at BAFTA over Greta Lee. Either way, I hate that most of the women of color got sacrificed in such a tough category, though I'm cheering for Lily Gladstone until the end. So let's do that, and then one more little bullet from Gina. But who do you think was 7?
I don't know. I haven't thought about this. I don't care.
Wait first, you last, as Ricky Bobby once said.
I don't know if it was Fantasia. I don't think the jury save means that much. So
yeah, I think Greta was 7th.
Yeah, I would probably say Greta Lee.
This is why they should release the top 10. It would be great. It'd be so great. They don't even have to put the vote totals.
They should just release 6 to 10 because they didn't get in.
Yeah, they actually should. I think they don't even have to release the actual vote totals, but I think if you just release the top 10, first of all, make people feel better, right? Because they'd be like, oh, look, like, my favorite got mentioned or whatever. I also think
that'll just make people more mad because then they'll be like, my fave was so close to getting in.
I also think we're trending. You're going to hate this, but I really do think we're tracking towards the next 5 years, them adding a slot to these categories. No. You don't think they're gonna? I think they will.
No, like it's like I understand the logic in Best Picture expanding it, but there is no reason to do it for these other categories because they're really gonna have to do it for every single one. You can't just do it for the actors because that's what the general public cares about and is aware of.
I think they'll do it for every single one.
Like, no, it's like, this is the whole thing. This is why I'm always anti expanding anything, because it's not a participation trophy. Like, if you're gonna make this into a contest, there are gonna be winners and losers and snubs.
I knew you would hate this.
People are gonna be left out. They're not.
You can't tell me it's not. You could just see it coming though. Like, I could see it. I could see the press release.
No, but here's the thing: if you expand, there's still people going to be left out. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like you can't. That's why you can't do it.
I think they're going to do it. And then the last part from Gina, I think the Academy needs a revamp in the music categories. Many people are fed up with the John Williams, Diane Warren name checks, especially at the expense of potential first-time nominees or better overall options in general. R.I.P. Spider-Verse. What would they? How could they revamp those? How could they revamp? Yeah. How can they revamp it?
I mean, I don't think you can revamp the membership. Like people just have to die out. So
That's like the Michael Shannon quote. What was that? Get in the urn about Trump voters or whatever. Do you remember that interview he did?
like I don't like you can't you would just have to revamp the nominating process, but I don't like you're not going to do that specifically for I don't think it's like unique enough. I mean they used to have like different ranking rules um for certain categories, but I think like the thing is like nothing is going to stop them from still voting for their friends.
Yeah. This was an interview Michael Shannon did in 2016, Joyce, with Metro. There's a lot of old people who need to realize they've had a nice life and it's time for them to move on, Shannon said, because they're the ones who go out and vote for these assholes. If you're looking for the young people between 18 and 25, it was up to them. Hillary would be president. No offense to seniors out there. My mom's a senior. But if you're voting for Trump, it's time for the urn. And if your parents voted for Trump, fuck them. You're an orphan now. Don't go home. This is like about the music branch. We're just saying, like the same kind of thing.
Gina wants that to be about the music branch.
Next email. slugfest@signalderby.com. It's another one about the Best Actress list. Let's see. This is from Guillermo. Hi, guys. Great last couple of episodes. And one of the last ones, Joyce mentioned that in order to get nominated in acting, you need to get #1 votes. And maybe Margot wasn't #1 on many ballots. Could you expand on that? Does it work like the preferential ballot? If, let's say, Emma got the most #1, would the votes go to the #2 option
Yes,
on
I
those?
would just stop you right now and say yes. That's it. Yes, you don't need to continue. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So
Okay. Bonus tennis question for Joyce. Who are your favorite female tennis players? I personally love Iga and Miss
Iga Swiatek.
I don't Iga, I guess, and then Miss Muguruza.
Garbi Muguruza, who has been on a very extended break from tennis. Okay. I like a lot of like I like Iga and like current ones. Yeah, I like Iga, I like Rybakina. I also like Sabalenka, who just won the Australian Open too. I don't mind. A lot of people hate like grunters and shriekers. I don't mind that at all.
Okay.
So,
is that like a Monica Seles reference?
Well, yeah, and also like Maria Sharapova, Victoria Azarenka, another fave of mine. I love Vika. So, yeah, I don't like I like people's games more because I feel like a lot of people like players' personalities, and I do love a lot of their personalities, but for me it's like about the game and like the well-roundedness of their game. Like I also really like Simona Halep, who has been suspended for like 2 years because of a doping violation, and her case has been delayed indefinitely, basically. Yeah, and then like older players I love, like I like Lindsay Davenport a lot because I just like her ground strokes, like the way the ball comes off her racket. Like that's one of my favorite sounds in sports. Just the noise of a ball coming off a racket, like Delpo, forehands, same thing, Martin Del Potro, like just like there's nothing like it. So Lindsay, and obviously like Venus Serena. I'm not like a huge fan of them, but I love what they've done for the game. Like I'm not a huge like fan of like the power players. I'm just like all serve and forehand. Like I like more variety. Like I love Martina Hingis too.
I know that reference.
You know that? You've heard of her?
Yeah.
Venus
and Serena I know too. They're pretty famous. Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of King Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie. Whatever happened to that movie?
I don't know.
What's Will Smith up to?
There was this film called Emancipation, I believe.
I don't know about that. But Bad Boys 4, maybe? That's this year. Joyce, this one's from David L. I'm going to let him take a victory lap because he's emailed this probably 25 times.
Just for you to read this exact same copy?
Give or take a couple of tweaks. Hi, Joyce and Chris, it's David L. I really wanted to pat myself on the back because I predicted on your show that Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Emily Blunt would get Oscar nominations back in March of last year when you both made your early Emmy predictions. I'm assuming that's us, or I guess no. And you both doubted me just because of past Christopher Nolan films, even though it's a person-centered biopic, which also tends to get acting nominations. So shame on you, Chris, and number one Oppie stan Joyce for not believing me.
I'm the number one Oppie stan? Since when?
What about me? Why am I not number
Why am
one?
I
What the
the number
fuck?
one Oppie stan?
What the fuck? My question is, do you still think Boy and the Heron could beat? Do you think Boy and the Heron could beat Spider-Verse this year? I know it's hard to trust the voters, and they can be so lazy in that category, but Boy and the Heron is the most acclaimed animated film since Inside Out. It even made the National Board of Review top 10 list, and every animated film that made it on that list went on to win animated feature. I looked at the IndieWire article of directors' favorite films list, and many filmmakers, including Joyce's guy and my fave, Bill Hader, is a huge stan of Boy and the Heron, and he's an Academy member as well, so it has a lot of love in the industry. The problem with Toy Story 4 win is that there was no strong competition that year. So if Boy and the Heron wins Annie and BAFTA, it could then build enough momentum throughout the season.
Well, yeah, I would say it wins those, sure. But what if it doesn't win those?
If it doesn't win those, I think Spider-Verse. The other thing is, I think Spider-Verse is just better than Toy Story 4.
I would say that too, yes.
So,
Um, but I do think they're just lazy in that category.
yeah.
And um I feel like if it was just like animators voting for it, then Boy would probably win.
I I also think I don't think you could underestimate the enthusiasm there is for Spider-Verse. Like, it's not as good as the first one, and I'm sure the third one is going to be better than the second one, but people just love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Boy and the Heron is acclaimed, and people might also like that, but they love Spider-Verse. So, like, why wouldn't they pick it?
Yeah, and also we've heard, of voters for, if not their entire ballot, but for, these categories, like asking their kids like what they should vote for. And I feel like their kids would say Spidey.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
will say, my daughter loved. I'm not a big Miyazaki guy, no shit, but my daughter really loved Totoro.
But would she vote for Boy and the Heron?
We didn't even watch it
Oh,
with
well, you
her.
need to show it to her by next week, and then we could get her vote.
Okay. Next up, this one's from Eliseo, who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Chris and Joyce. Who do you want to see in the front row of the Oscars this year in spots traditionally given to Jack, Meryl, and Tom Hanks? Who do you think's going to go, Joyce?
Well, the nominees will go.
So, like, Downey, I think the front row is going to be like Downey,
Like Oppie.
like a lot of Oppie, probably
Well,
Greta.
they seat them in sections too. So usually if it's, I mean, I feel like Oppie would just get a section. It might be a side because I don't know if they would do the front because the front is usually reserved for um like high profile people like, Meryl, and she's usually not part of like a best picture nominee,
Right.
when she's nominated. Um and then yeah, so I guess maybe if it is the middle section, like they could be half of it, but I could also see them just being off to like one side. And like that's like the Oppie section.
But you don't think Downey will be up front? I could see like the front row being like Downey,
I
Margot
think like the
Robbie.
actors, yeah, like the actors will obviously be in the front.
Yeah.
So, but if you're talking about, I think he's talking about the middle section
Yeah.
up front, the front row. Yeah. So like last year, that was, I think it was like Angela Bassett and like Austin Butler next to each other, you know, um, and it's like they're the only acting representatives of their films, and you get like two different films in there, two in the front. But um I don't know. I don't see because it's usually the actors. So like Margot Robbie, she'll be there as a producer. She's nominated as a producer. So I could see them putting her in the front, but maybe not first row. Like she could be like second row.
Who of like the who famous but not in a movie would be there? Like Jack doesn't come anymore, it seems. You think like
Um,
Leo they could put in the front?
I mean, I don't like will he go? Because I could see him not going. He doesn't need to go. He's not nominated.
I have a hard time believing he wouldn't go. I mean, he's shooting that PTA movie now, but I think he'll go.
He's gonna take the day off.
PTA will give him the day off.
Like, I think he'll go to the parties. A lot more people go to the parties than to the ceremony.
Do you think like Tom Hanks will go?
I mean, like if I think if he goes, it's just to present. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think about this stuff. I don't care what people said. Do you care what people said?
Not usually. I care if they go, but I don't really care what they said.
Mm.
This one is from Ben. Got a few TV ones here, Joyce. So we'll close out with these. Couple about Masters of the Air. You watching this?
Oh, watch the whole thing. My friend called it because he was watching the screeners a couple weeks ago, and then he was like, "Have you guys been watching Hunks in the Air?" So that's what we call it now, Hunks in the
Well,
Air.
maybe this is your friend then. This is Ben. Is Austin Butler actually too attractive for a war drama like Masters of the Air? This is a serious question. I find it a bit distracting.
Um, well, if you look at the pictures of the real Gail Clevin, um, he was a handsome fellow, but this is definitely a Hollywood upgrade. I think Callum Turner looks more like his character John Egan, but I think it's only funny if you compare it to Band of Brothers and the Pacific, where I feel like the casting for those like really made more sense, and I feel like it did not take the viewer out in the same way that I feel like maybe Austin is kind of doing in this case.
He's a very attractive man,
He's a very attractive
but
man.
he's very good on it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but what I watched, I think he's like really good.
He my favorite moment is the end of episode 6. That's all I'll say.
This is another one about Masters of the Air, which is streaming on Apple TV Plus. Big Masters of the Air contingent here. This one is from Jane. Austin Butler and Barry Keoghan star in the new show Apple TV Masters of the Air. Yeah, I know, Jane. Jesus. They received Oscar noms the same year. In your opinion, what do you think the odds that they'll also snag Emmy nominations for this show? I've not watched the whole thing, but I would be shocked if Barry Keoghan got one for this. He's not really a main factor, it seems.
Yeah, he's not he's supporting for sure, but yeah, not really like a major character, I would say.
It's
It's
almost
really about
distracting
like yeah,
that he's in it.
it's it's really like Austin and Callum
Yes.
who are the main guys, and then Anthony Boyle, who's also narrates,
Right.
is like the main supporting guy. But in terms of the Emmys, Limited is very competitive this year.
Well, definitely
So
for the actresses, but I wonder for the actors. Like, do you think Austin can get in?
um maybe I
I I guess I'll be curious to see if it's gonna get like a lot, if people are gonna really watch it.
his fans are watching it.
Yeah,
I
true.
think we know that. The industry, I don't know. I mean, like it would be like a fun thing for them to say they got nominated the same year at the Oscars and Emmys. I don't think it'll happen for Barry.
I would just be surprised. You said you've seen the whole thing. I mean,
Yes.
just on what I've seen, I'm like, I don't think he's really in it. It just is like he's not in it that much.
No, I would say like Austin and Callum are the best shots
Yeah,
for nominations, and then like Anthony Boyle.
right.
Probably. He's kind of like my friend and I call him the fake Greg because he gives a lot like Greg vibes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like he's like he's air sickness, vomits, just I don't know what you're up to.
No, I saw that. Yeah, that's good.
I know,
That's
but
very
there's like
good.
something else coming up when he reacts funny. I can't talk about it, but
All right.
yeah.
No.
But yeah, so Austin Butler could be halfway to an EGOT nominee. But
This one is from Liam. Is it just me, or is True Detective Night Country actually just a stealth Mayor of Easttown sequel? There seem
it
to be a
is.
lot of similarities. And if you agree, do you see it having the same sort of awards run? The first season of True Detective was famously part of the reconnaissance, and True Detective Night Country is now part of the Foster Sance. Between this and the Oscar nom for Naya, things are going great for Jodie. It seems like an Emmy nom is on the horizon. So what do you think, Joyce? Do you think this is going to get like, I mean, who else besides Jodie is going to get nominated for this show?
I mean, they could just do the whole cast. But first of all, yes, it is like Mayor 2.0. My friend and I call it Liz of Ennis. There are a lot of similarities, and I've seen the whole season as well, and there are a lot more similarities coming up.
Oh wow, nice. Good
So,
tease, Joyce.
yeah, and uh, I yes, I think Jodie will for sure get in, and I can see like I think Finn Bennett is like Evan Peters.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Zabes of the show, so I can see him getting in. John Hawkes and Callie Reese, obviously, as well. Um,
They all get in.
yeah. You know, I think I like the season. And it's kind of this week was the third episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's more of like a supernatural element to it. Um, but I think it's the best one since the first season, and I'm not even a huge fan of the first season.
I'm not a fan of the show just in general, but I haven't watched the fourth season yet, so I will catch up before we have to talk about the Emmys.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes because the other seasons are 8. So that's one way it's not the same as Mare because Mare was 7 episodes, but the True Detective finale is 75 minutes. So, um, but yeah, the Foster Sons. I don't think she'll win the Oscar
No.
like Matthew did, and Matthew also didn't win the Emmy because they won drama and went up against Breaking Bad's final season. So I don't mean she could win the Emmy. I don't know. That's a tough race.
It's limited series. It's gonna be like Kate Winslet, probably.
Yes, the regime going. She'll be up against real Mare.
Yeah.
Um,
Nicole
so
Kidman for expats, maybe.
we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, her like the Brie Larson. It could just be Best Actress winners competing on the Emmys.
Pretty formidable.
Mm.
And last one, this one's from Joanne. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Congratulations on the New York Times article. What will you do with his newfound fame? Joyce, I don't know if you saw this.
You know, I saw
Oh,
it and
right,
we
because I
talked
texted
about
you.
it. Well, no, I
Uh,
saw it before that because my friend sent me the print version.
wow, it's in print. I didn't even know it was in print.
You didn't even know it's in print. It's in print.
No, that's awesome. New York Times published this weekend 5 podcasts for Hollywood's awards season. And your old pals, Joyce and Chris in there
We
with
somehow made it. I don't know.
Joyce and Chris in there with Little Gold Men for Vanity Fair. The Town with Matt Bellany, which isn't even an awards podcast. IndieWire Screen Talk. And This Had Oscar Buzz. And us. Suck at all the other shows that didn't
It's
make
an
it.
honor to be nominated. I know it's not nominations, but it's an honor.
There's 5 here, so we're in the club. We're not.
They're not going to
number
expand
6.
the list. So
Yeah, not number 6. No, it's great. Love the recognition.
yeah, was that it? That was just the question. Thank
That's
you.
it. What are you gonna do with your newfound fame, Joyce? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. No, I don't want any attention.
We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Reading David L's emails and
Yeah.
talking
So
about
and
Oscars.
talking about my favorite tennis players.
Yeah.
So
Email us more tennis questions at slugfest@goldderby.com. Next week, Joyce, I think we're gonna do some BAFTA picks. Is that right?
no, it's DGA.
Oh,
next week.
DGA. I'm sorry. The following week will be BAFTA.
Why are you so you're jumping the gun here?
I'm just looking at the calendar. Next week, DGA.
BAFTA
like
is President's Day weekend.
Yes. And then SAG. And then we'll end up doing the Oscars. Great. I can't wait, Joyce. A lot of fun stuff here in phase 2. I'll talk to you then. Okay, bye.